changes that we would consider making to it.
Maria, if you could address the chat.
Okay, so we have a quorum now?
We do, and we are recording.
All right, thank you. Let me welcome everyone to this evening's session here with the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. I am Judge Alexander Williams. I'm one of the co-chairs of this non-member commission. We're excited to have all of you tune in this evening for another session. And I will say that the hallmark—
Judge Williams?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we still have about 3 minutes till start time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a quorum. You're right
I'm
about that. But
I thought we were going live.
Yeah, we are live. We are live,
Okay.
but we
All
just
right.
have a few more minutes till 6 o'clock.
All right. Yes, you're right.
You're on a roll, and I was just waiting for you to take
Yeah.
a breath.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate, for letting
All
me
right.
know. I was on a roll. I was on a roll.
I was prepared to jump in and say, would you like me to go ahead and do the rules and policies before you start?
Okay. All right. Great.
You'll get back on that roll soon enough, Judge.
All right. Okay.
All right. We got 3 minutes.
Right. And Christian, do we have anyone missing this evening?
Yes, we have Jay Amin is missing tonight.
Okay. All right.
Now my dog is sitting next to me panting.
Mm.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 speakers as of right now.
Okay. All right.
Judge Williams, while we wait for any more of our members, would you like me to go ahead and go a little bit out of order in the agenda and quickly run through the policies and procedures here, or do you want to just go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock?
No, that would be fine. You can do that. And then before we get public testimony, we'll have all the commissioners introduce themselves. That's no problem. Sure.
Okay, sounds good. We'll just go ahead with the second agenda item, or just move out of the agenda just a little bit to give these policies and procedures first. Good evening and welcome to the second public meeting of round 3 of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. This meeting is being recorded. As we begin, there are a few matters to share regarding the rules and policies for this evening's meeting, as well as some tips about the platform that will assist our speakers in better understanding how Zoom works. This meeting does offer Spanish interpretation. To listen in Spanish, you will note that there is a box on the Zoom control panel, either at the bottom or at the top of your screen. If you simply click on that interpretation box and select Spanish, you'll be able to listen to a live Spanish translator. We ask that speakers remember this and speak slowly and clearly so that the translator can work with us. There is a 3-minute allotment for speakers so that everyone who wants to speak may do so. When there is about 20 seconds left of your speaking time, a screen share of a countdown timer will come on, and we ask that you wrap up your remarks. You will be asked to stop speaking when that time does run out. Inappropriate speaking, attire, behavior, or background will result in a removal of the meeting without the ability to rejoin. Anyone registering after 2 o'clock today should ask to join as a speaker in the chat section, as your name may not be on the list of pre-registered speakers. Typically, we say 6 o'clock last night, but I do believe that that list was updated today. But if you registered today and you want to make sure that we have your name, please go ahead and make sure that you've added to the chat box to just simply indicate that you'd like to speak. Those who did not register prior to about 2 p.m. the day when that list was updated will not be able to have a map pulled up if they would like to do so. Anyone who joins as a panelist who is speaking will also not be able to share their screen. Instead, if you've indicated what map you'd like to speak to, we'll be sharing that screen for you. If you did not register but do want to speak tonight, you can request to do so as in a message to the panelists via the chat feature. It's in the control bar, and you simply select chat and then send a message with your name and the county in which you reside and ask to speak. The raise hand option should not be used to request to speak. Speakers should ensure that their name is listed properly in their registration box. If not, please change it to the name you signed up for to speak. That is because we have to move you from attendee status to panelist status in order to address our panel this evening. The participants list is not public, as several people do join with their cell phone numbers, and we don't want to make that a public list. Pre-registered speakers go first, then chat request speakers will be called in order of their request. Speakers providing testimony should be aware that when they are made a panelist and it is their turn to speak, we will enable them to do so. They'll be able to unmute and share their camera or share their video. There may be a short delay while the speaker screen goes from attendee to panelist, and this is normal. You might see a screen message indicating that the host would like to promote you to be a panelist. You'll need to accept it by clicking the Join as Panelist button. We'll wait about 5 to 10 seconds for the speaker to go live. If you're unable to join during that time, we'll come back to you after the next speaker. Once speakers are finished, we must move them back to an attendee. When we do that, you may again see a spinning wheel or a message that you are being moved back to an attendee. You're not being thrown out of the meeting. It's normal. You don't have to log out and log back in. We know that this is a lot of information, but want to assist you in better understanding how this meeting will operate so it can go as smoothly as possible. With that, I'd like to introduce you to the host for this evening's meeting, Judge Alexander Williams, Jr., who serves as one of the co-chairs of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. Judge Williams?
Yes, thank you, Kristen. And certainly I wanted to welcome all this evening who have tuned in to this round 3 public meeting map presentation that we have been holding for some time now. I want to say that this is a transparent process, that we have 9 commissioners who were appointed through executive order by Governor Hogan. We started off around, I think, actually January. We actually started meeting January, February, but we've had a hearing since May the 5th. I want to say that we have reviewed maps, both submitted by the commission here as well as citizen proposed maps. We have and continue to review testimony and comments that have come in. In fact, new maps came in just the last few days. We have testimony this evening we intend to consider, and transparency is the hallmark of this entire process. So before we go further and give a little historical background, let me introduce all of the commissioners who are here. Again, I'm Alex Williams. I'm a retired judge, and I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. Walter, can you go next?
Okay. My name is Walter Olson. I'm a resident of Frederick County, and I work for a think tank.
Kate?
Good evening, Judge. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kate Hetherington, recently retired president of Howard Community College, and I reside in Howard County.
All right, going right in the order. I see Jonathan next. Jonathan?
I am Jonathan Fussfield. I'm a communications manager for a research firm, and I live in Montgomery County.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Good evening, I'm Cheryl Brooks. I'm a resident of Baltimore County and a proud principal of elementary school.
All right, next is Kim Cummings.
Hi, Kim Cummings here, longtime resident of the Eastern Shore. I am currently supervisor of court operations with land records and licensing in the circuit court also in Dorchester. Thank you.
All right, let me go back up and get Mary Clausen. Mary?
Hello, I'm Mary Clausen. I live in Anne Arundel County, and I'm a retired federal employee.
All right, and then William Thomas.
Good evening, William Thomas, Senior Principal Engineer for the Department of Defense, grassroots organizer, Baltimore City resident.
All right, did I miss anyone? Christian, I understand that Jay Amin is not here this evening. He's got a commitment.
Correct. He had a work commitment and is unable to attend.
All right, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these are 8 of 9 commissioners, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 3 independents constitute this commission. All right, Christian, do we have any details I can walk through from a historical standpoint?
I think as of right now, we can move to the speakers and then handle anything that we need to follow up on during the working session after our speakers.
All right, great. Okay, let me just have a couple additional comments before we call on the speaker. Again, the public meetings began on May 5, and they included a series of working sessions among the commissioners. Round 1 included 8 regional meetings during which members of the public could share their thoughts. To date, we've received probably almost 100, Christian, maps from the public, over 100?
77.
My goodness, yes, 77, okay. And we've hosted 30 or more public meetings, I think 31. And we just continue to receive a lot of feedback and comments and reactions to the maps as to what people like, what they don't like, and so forth. We put a lot of emphasis on social media posts, which has resulted in a lot of impressions on Twitter and many messages on Facebook. Again, we've had public officials testify, we've had citizens testify, and we have a number of hot issues that's still burning, but everything is transparent. Everything is basically on our website, and please tune in and look if you want further information on previous meetings and everything that we're doing. No determinations, no actions, no meetings have taken place except those that have been in public. So we'll continue to do that. Okay, so let's now, Kristen, if we can go to our speakers who've signed up. Who's first?
Today, our first speaker is Delegate Robin Grammer of Baltimore County, who's going to speak about the congressional and Senate maps.
All
Delegate
right.
Grammer, you've been made a panelist. You'll just need to unmute and start your video.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Delegate Grammer, nice to see you, and thanks for coming.
You as well. Thank you so much. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, and members of the commission. My name is, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Robin Grammer. I appreciate the opportunity to share my opinions here tonight I live in Essex and I have lived in Eastern Baltimore County for my entire 41 years. Full disclosure, I am the state delegate currently representing Eastern Baltimore County. The goal of Governor Hogan was to restore trust and fairness to our political system and to eliminate partisan gerrymandering, and I agree with those goals. The proposed Baltimore County legislative maps have some problems in achieving the goals laid out by the governor, and although I could go on about that, I'd like to limit my comments to the east side. The proposed legislative maps completely obliterate Eastern Baltimore County, which has been adjoined politically for 19 years. And a few people would contest that the communities of Dundalk, Edgemere, Essex, Fort Howard, Middle River, and Rosedale are of similar interest. The number of times a political boundary may be traversed is finite, and these maps use Eastern Baltimore County as the filler for both a political crossing into Baltimore City and into Harford County. And these maps would assert that the communities of Fort Howard and Edgemere are more similar to Federal Hill than they are of Essex, which they see every day across the water. The maps would assert that Sussex has more to do with Aberdeen than it does with the other half of Essex, which is on the other side of the street. Additionally, these maps rip Essex in half. One half of Essex is connected politically to Aberdeen in what would be the new District 43. The new District 19 would leap a body of water, a state highway, and the railroad tracks to rip the actual Essex Community Association, which is precincts 1512, 1513, and 1514. It would rip the Essex Community Association out of Essex and connect it to the new District 19, which appears to connect to Parkville and Towson. I encourage you to explore why this map suggests this change. This change would leap physical boundaries and bifurcate Essex to create this new district. If you talk to the folks of southeastern Baltimore County, you will see just how similar their interests are. And I think we should do everything we can to keep the district together, not to split us into Harford County and Baltimore City. I understand District 6 lost population, so there would certainly need to be additions geographically. I think we could achieve this simply by consolidating some of the Rosedale precincts into Eastern Baltimore County, or we could even extend in the Middle River, Arrow Acres, maybe take on Hawthorne. We could do it that way, for example. That would be a simple change that would consolidate communities of similar interests, not bifurcate us. Also, briefly, I just want to touch on single member districts. There's one option for fair representation in Maryland. That is single member districts. Right now in Baltimore County, one of our hot topics is more majority districts. If you believe in arithmetic, single member districts is the best way to achieve more minority districts and also provide the most fair representation for every Marylander. With that, I'll close. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate tonight.
Thank you, Delegate Grummer. Thank you. All right.
Our next speaker is Jay Girardin from Howard County. Jay, I've made you a panelist and you'll just need to unmute and share your video if you'd like.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
you certainly can. Yes.
Okay. You're not getting my video though, I guess.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we have that you'd like to speak about the congressional maps, so we've put them on the screen.
Do you have my video now? Or I'm not sure if it's coming through, right?
We can't see you, no.
Okay, start my video. I'm
There
sorry,
you
now
go.
can you see me?
Yes, we see you and
Okay.
hear you.
All right, thank you very much for your patience. First of all, I'd just like to compliment the complete panel here for doing an excellent job at the congressional level. It's 1,000% better than what we've had over the last decade. They're contiguous and they're compact. And somehow you've been able to get the full 717 or 771,000 in each one of those 8 districts. Fantastic. You could describe where you're at to anybody else in Maryland with these districts. The other ones were impossible. Great job. But I also wanted to just bring up the possibility. We have 47 Senate districts in Maryland. If we could just increase it to 48, okay? That would be a 2% increase in the number of our senators. The population has went up 7%. What could we do with 48 districts? We could do 6 Senate districts for every congressional district, completely contained within each congressional district. So much cleaner. Each district would be about 128,000, and you'd have 6 of them per every one of these districts. So, and they'd be 100% behind one congressional district. They wouldn't be dividing their time between a couple districts. It's much, much cleaner. Please consider that as an option. Draw that up and have the governor and the legislature at least see what that might look like. 6 Senate districts for every one of our congressional districts, increasing the number of senators from 47 to 48. Now at the delegate level, there's 43,000 per district if we went with single members. Some have argued that we've had multi-members. Whenever I see that, I always see a very limited number of, it quickly convolves to just one party, unfair. If we could do our elections and have only, one party get only 2 of those seats and the other party get 1 of those seats, there'd be an incentive for them to do a little bit better in the next election, but we'd still have enough people that'd be willing to run in those districts. And every person in Maryland, wherever they're at, wherever they live, they'd have at least 1 member of each of the 2 major parties they could contact. That would be beautiful.
Appreciate your comments. The 3 minutes is up. And the only comment I'd have, Mr. Girardin, is that to change the Senate districts from 47 to 48, that would take something act by the people to change the Constitution and laws, certainly beyond our power. But I thank you. We'll certainly pass that on to the legislators.
I think they should at least consider it. Thank you very much, Judge. I mean, it would be much cleaner.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Kristen.
All right. Our next speaker is Zaylee Harris of Charles County. Zaylee, I have made you a panelist. You'll just need to unmute and share your screen if you'd like.
Hello, commissioners. How are you?
All right, Harris. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak again. I've listened to the members of the commission and I've read the memos of Mr. Olson. And I know that this particular meeting is really about Baltimore County, Baltimore City. But when you look at what you're doing in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and what the previous speaker just offered about adding a 48 senator, I think when you create a hybrid, a mixed hybrid, and you look at the population, what you're doing in order to create the hybrids in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and the gerrymandering that you're doing, you also affect the southern state as well. And while this is about Baltimore, you affect Charles County in your numbering. And I'm really opposed to the hybrid solution that Mr. Olson is recommending. And I hope that this commission will stick to what Governor Hogan has recommended and suggested in his executive order, whereas it's single member district, compact and contiguous within the boundaries. I live in Hughesville, Maryland, that's in southern Charles County, right on the St. Mary's line. And my senator is going to be in Clinton, living in Prince George's County. That to me is not cultural. It's not, it's gerrymandering. It's, you're changing the district numbers from 28 to 39, which will confuse people, which, okay, that happens every 10 years or so. But why should I, in southern Charles County, have a senator that's going to be in Prince George's County, in Clinton, 47, 50 miles away north. That's gerrymandering. That's political partisanship. It's illegal. It's unfair. And while I appreciate the commission's work and dedication to this project, I think the commission needs to stick to the executive order and do what the governor has recommended be done. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harris. Just correct you on one thing. The hybrid is a discussion that has come from a number of commissioners. It's not anything attributed to Commissioner Olson. He was just putting a number of thoughts together based on that discussion, but don't hold him responsible for any hybrid. I want to correct that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next.
All right, our next speaker is Senator Paul Quarterman of Washington County, who is requesting to speak about the proposed Senate district maps. Vantasha Sims is also listed as a speaker, but she has yet to join.
All right.
All right, folks, can you hear me?
Yes, Senator, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I appreciate it. And first of all, thank you to all the work you guys are doing here. Very much appreciated. I just wanted to speak a little bit towards the Senate map along the lines that Delegate Grammer spoke to, but obviously the concerns that I have along with our constituents are here in the western part of the state. We understand obviously the population loss that has occurred in District 1 and understand that District 1 is going to have to move east. But much the same along the lines that Delegate Grammer spoke to, when we're talking about trying to keep things as contiguous and compact as possible, there are some issues that have come up with this proposed draft, specifically in Washington County. The district would now, as drafted here, would extend District 1, that is, extend east and north. It would essentially would bisect or bifurcate the northern portion of what is known as basically Hagerstown and Hagerstown proper, while the city itself is left intact just north of the city of Hagerstown, which is a large population of the suburbs, the airport and things of that nature, would then fall into District 1. And so you would basically take the two largest zip codes that are out here in the entire county and cut them in half. While we are in a rural area, the challenges around the city of Hagerstown are very different than those in the rural part of the county, especially in District 1. We have a lot more concerns and challenges and issues in regards to things that happen more in the urban and densely populated area. And again, while we are in a rural area, that population center around Hagerstown again has quite different challenges than the rest of the county. So my suggestion would be, if possible, I have tried to go on and played it with the maptitude myself. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability, as some of the folks have had, to put some of these things together, and I'm working on that currently to try to see what possible avenues could be. I know the commission wants to keep the population deviation to a minimum, and I do respect that. At the same time, we would like to respect the values and concerns of Western Maryland, particularly the three most western counties, of trying to keep them as intact to the best of our ability that they have been in regards to representation. That is a big concern here, I know, with Hagerstown, and then likewise to the southern portion, where we're trying to respect boundaries. The southern portion of District 2 is proposed to go into Frederick County, and I think that is completely unfair to the folks down in Frederick County. There's again vast difference between the two counties. We have different forms of government just locally. We have a county commissioner form. They have a county council and a county executive. There's a lot of different issues and challenges just between the two counties. And to draw District 2 over into what is currently District 3, but across the mountain into into Frederick County, I think unfortunately does a disservice to the individuals that live in Frederick County. So again, understanding that we're trying to do the population deviation to a minimum, it is possible using the numbers, if you extend that out just a little bit, that you could keep District 1 to District 2 in a similar fashion within the three most western counties. So that's all I wanted to add, because we're trying to keep these things as compact as possible. If I do respect everything you guys are doing and appreciate the time you've allowed me here this evening. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Quarterman, and we'll certainly take your comments into consideration. Thank you.
Judge, might I perhaps put in a word at this point, because it's not something that the audience necessarily knows, but Having heard this critique of the treatment of the Hagerstown area a couple weeks ago, and from more than one person, I decided that yes, it could be improved very much along the lines that Senator Quarterman said, and I did draw a map, which we will see later this evening, which I'll offer for consideration by the other commissioners. I don't think that we can give satisfaction on the issue of crossing over into Frederick County because the population equality is just too big of a factor there. But as far as the treatment of the Hagerstown suburbs, I think that the senator's point is very well taken, and that we may have a repair that he may find better than the initial proposal.
All right, great. Thank you, Walter, for those comments. Okay, Kristen, back to you.
I have already promoted our panelist, Delegate Kathy Shalega.
Thank you,
Baltimore County.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank the panel, the commissioners for your hard work. I know it's a lot of work, and I just appreciate all that you're doing. The congressional map looks so much better than the current map. So kudos on that. I have a small suggestion that you renumber them to look more like today's numbers. For instance, I live in District 1, which is now numbered as District 8. It's a small change, but it's kind of confusing. And District 1 on the new map is, I think, 7 or 8. So just a very small suggestion there. Also on the congressional map, I would love to see a map that goes from St. Mary's through Calvert up into Anne Arundel County, and keeping like communities together of Prince George's and Charles. I think the Chesapeake Bay creates like communities with watermen and boating and marinas. And I think that makes more sense for the congressional map. I also wanted to just weigh in briefly on the delegate map. The single member map. I want to thank you so much for working on that. And I did testify at a previous hearing and advocated for single member. I am a delegate from Baltimore. I represent Baltimore and Harford counties. And, I think a single member map, I'm in a 3-member district. I think a single member map would serve the people of Maryland much better. And I want to encourage you to continue keeping the population as close as possible. My district right now, District 7, is one of the heaviest population in the entire state. It was overdrawn like plus 8% when they made the map 10 years ago. And other districts are minus 8 or 9%. Obviously, that creates a huge population change. I would like to weigh in on the communities of interest for Baltimore County. I agree with Delegate Grammer that we shouldn't be splitting up the Essex Dundalk area communities of interest again. I would say I represent District 7, which is adjacent to District 6. And if District 6 needs to grow, it should grow up into Middle River, taking in Hawthorne. But again, along the water, along the Chesapeake Bay, those communities of interest, the communities are much more similar. And the crossing into the city and then into Harford County and one on the eastern side of Baltimore County, I just don't think that will serve the constituents well at all. And I wanted to know when the deadline for me to submit a map is, and what your timeline is as you're winding the commission's work up.
All right, thank you, Delegate. Kristen, can you answer the delegate's question about the deadline?
I just need to double check. I can't get out of my screen here, and I don't want to lose what I'm working on, what we have right now. In fact, I just did by trying to open my calendar, and I don't have the date, but I believe that we made it the Wednesday before the Monday before the last meeting, which would put us at October 25th.
Okay, October 25th is the deadline to submit maps.
I believe so, and we can double check that for you as well and get back to you.
Yeah, I noticed on the website, it looked like that timeline had already passed. So that's why I brought it up. It looked like it was in September at one point.
That was for round 2. Those were for the round 2 maps. This is for the round 3 maps.
Okay, and is this the final round?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So any citizen that wants to put a map in needs to get it into you guys by October 25th. Or
Yes.
roughly. I'll look on the website.
Yeah, we'll have that posted on the website if it's not already posted.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you again for everything you do. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker. Maria, I'm going to need you to promote Jerry Fife from Charles County. When I tried to open up that calendar, it froze my screen here.
Not a problem. I just promoted him. He should be there any second.
Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jerry.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Jerry Faith. I'm a member of the Charles County Republican Central Committee, the Republican Central Committee, the Republican Jewish Coalition, the National Treasury Employees Union. One person, one vote is a concept that most organizations believe in. The Democrats want this unconstitutional multi-member approach because they win in these areas. They do not believe in fairness, but control and power. Take, for example, Charles County, which is similar to Baltimore. They enjoy their multi-member districts because they win. They have no concern for fairness, but only a concern to continue their control. Numerous Supreme Court justices have disapproved of the multi-member district. If the commission wants to do a good job, they will universally recommend single-member districts. There's no compromise when considering fairness. We all know what is fair. Single member. Therefore, I firmly implore all of the deciding officials to vote for single-member districts to bring Maryland into 2022 with a new image. You need to stick to Governor Hogan's executive order, compatible and contiguous districts. And as far as Charles County is concerned, there's approximately 170,000 people in Charles County, according to the new census. 128,000 is the concept for one Senate seat. So we, according to that numerical approach, we should have one senator and a third. And as far as the delegate count, we should have approximately 4 delegates, and we have 3 right now. I appreciate you working on this very difficult project, and thank you for permitting me to make my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Faith. Thank you. All right. Do you have another?
Nope, that's it. And we have not yet had anyone request, Maria, unless anyone has in the last couple of minutes. We do not have anyone that has requested in the chat section to speak. So that would bring us to the end of our speakers for this evening.
All right. Well, again, let me thank all of our speakers this evening for giving us a very helpful testimony and suggestions here. We certainly will take all of this into consideration as we further deliberate all of the maps. Okay, so this concludes the public testimony portion of this agenda. And we'll now go to our work session. And again, we invite the public to stay in and listen, because everything that we do, again, is transparent, and all decisions that we make are to that effect. And so I suspect that I'll call on our expert as Professor Vasily with us today?
Yes, Judge, I'm right here.
All right, great. So, Professor, you want to give us a recap on any revised maps that you have been looking at and have submitted? And before you do that, let's see what we have on the agenda for this evening. We talked earlier about looking at the renumbering. As we said, we would look at that at some point, so we may look at that today. And then still on the table, of course, are the delegate proposals. We've got a number, some mixed, so we have to look at that. And we also have additional discussion, I believe, with Baltimore City, Baltimore County, with reference to the senatorial and delegate districts. So anyway, did I miss anything, Walter? Are we going to discuss the Washington County and the Hagerstown situation?
And at some point, I would like to have those put on the screen and let me briefly discuss them. They are for discussion, so I don't, we don't necessarily need to take any action on them, but I think that they should at least be put out there so that people, should we do that now? It's up to you, Judge Williams.
Well, why don't we go ahead, Professor, do you mind if we just go ahead and take Walter's comments right now?
Yeah, I'm also not sure what there's a lot that I can talk about, but I'm not sure exactly where to begin myself. So solving this problem, and it may be that there are three areas, one that we just heard of today that we could also introduce, but the Hagerstown fix is one way is one place to begin, and then the other is looking at this Essex issue, but most of, I think, what we want to discuss are the various multi-member district scenarios that I would.
All right, that's great. Okay, Walter.
Yeah, well, the screen is being shared. I wonder if the other graphic could be shared, which is of the current proposal that went out a few weeks ago. Can we get that second one shared?
Walter, is that the other part of your email? I'm not sure what.
Right, yeah, there were two attachments in my email.
Okay, yes.
It's a more colorful one with the districts.
Yep,
And,
we can share that one.
okay, that's good enough, yeah. So to back up a bit, I have been hearing for some weeks criticisms along the lines that Senator Quarterman told us about of the handling of the immediate Hagerstown area. Right after we put out our Senate maps, I heard from someone who's not from Washington County but does know Western Maryland well. You made a fluff on the way the first district is sent in because it takes too much of the Hagerstown area, and it would be better to allow Hagerstown to be within District 2 by sending the District 1 south along the Potomac instead, which is generally quite rural, and that made sense. Probably a week or two after he posted it, I also saw Senator Quarterman's Facebook post along very similar lines, and by that point I was already ready to believe it because I looked at the map for a while and drawn much the same conclusions. So with some help from NADA, I've drawn this map adjustment that would address that issue that I would like to share. The original proposal is on your left and the new proposal is on the right. And let me start out by saying something that it does not do, which is the City of Hagerstown District 2A is entirely unchanged between the one and the other. And its edges are very jagged because it follows the municipal boundaries of the city, which are themselves very jagged due to annexations. So that city district would not change at all, but the three districts around it would rotate more or less counterclockwise. And 1C, which had previously gone up along the Pennsylvania border all the way to the Frederick County line in the left map, would be rotated around so that instead it follows the Potomac in the right map down to around Sharpsburg. And in doing so, of course, it would pull back from taking the northern suburban area that Senator Quarterman mentioned. Now, in order to make the population come out equal between these three districts. The purple district on the left, losing some of its territory, would move up, taking the town of Smithsburg, and also just touching the southeasternmost reach of Hagerstown city proper, so as to avoid the dreaded donut hole effect, which newcomers may be puzzled at, but we've all been hearing about the donut hole effect, where you can't allow one district to be entirely contained by another. So moving 2C over that way keeps its general complexion of socioeconomic, pretty much the same. And it allows to more effectively move around the city and take virtually all of its close-in suburbs. So this change would require a change in the Senate map too, because you notice that 1C is in a different Senate district. So District 1 would change. It would include the Potomac area instead of the Pennsylvania border area. But here we have it. As I say, we don't have to decide tonight. I'd like to get this out here because particularly if it has flaws of its own, if it has unintended consequences of its own, the public should have time to point those out. Just wanted to get this out there for discussion, particularly by Washington County and other affected people.
Walter, where will the pushback be? Who would not be happy with this revision?
I don't know. You could argue that 2C is being made less compact. It's a little stretchier. It may be that there are people in the southern reaches around the Sharpsburg that would prefer to be in with District 2. I don't know where the objections would come from, because to me this seems like a pretty clear improvement. But again, there may be constituencies out there for whom it isn't. So that's what public comment is all about.
Could I ask one question, Walter or Judge? Sure. So to avoid the shape of 2B where it wraps around like that, one option is for 1C to come in to the western border of Hagerstown, but that's equally problematic because it's getting essentially some suburban, quasi-urban areas there, and you want to keep it with the more rural Potomac areas. Is that right?
Yeah, I think nothing is really gained by doing it that way. You still wind up with and in that case, it's a different state Senate district that is impinging on the immediate Hagerstown area. With 2C doing it, it's still within the same state Senate district, which means that the division of responsibility between the two state senators is a little clearer in the revised version, and it's muddied up a little more in if 1C is the one that comes in and touches 2A.
Got it.
And Professor, I would ask you, are there any legal issues that we should be concerned about if we approve this adjustment, or is this a deviation from the other senatorial districts as to how we handle this?
It's not, and there's no one person one vote problem. I mean, looking at the deviations that are on the screen, and so yeah, this goes into the many ways to skin a cat kind of category where, and I think it's exactly the kind of, really good community of interest argument that I hope we get more of, which is that, the way it was drawn originally was to go along the northern border, which visually has some appeal. But if the community really essentially goes along the Potomac, then that makes sense. I agree with what Chair Olson was saying. The only objection I could see is whether the shape of 2C is something that will lead some people to make similar objections in the sort of north, whether folks in Washington County conceptualize it as essentially Hagerstown and then east and west, right? Because we have it basically Hagerstown in north and south. But I'm persuaded. You've now got public input that says that this is the right way to do it. So that's makes a lot of sense.
Other questions?
I don't have a question, Judge. I just have a comment, and I agree with this reconfiguration, and I think we just put it out there and see what we hear from the folks that live in that area if there's something we're just not picking up.
Yeah.
Mary?
I also agree with this configuration, and it doesn't change the number of splits in the counties as well. So I agree with it.
Anyone else wish to chime in here at this point? All right, hearing no objection, I guess, can we reach a consensus that this should be our next, I guess, final proposed revision of this particular area? Are we comfortable with that? Anyone opposed to it? I also agree with it, Walter, and what the senator says, I certainly agree with that. So, Professor, let's go ahead and adopt that as we continue to put these drafts up, these final drafts up.
Great.
Okay. Walter, anything else?
That's it for that issue. I think we've got other issues that we need to get onto.
All right. Anyone wish to talk about the Essex issue that we heard this evening?
Can I put up on the screen how to solve that problem, or what can be done and what can't be done?
All right. Yes, put it up.
All right. So let me all right, unfortunately, we got multiple screens on here. Let me see if I can do this correctly. Let me stop sharing for a second. So, but basically what I want to say, and hopefully this will be able to come up, is that we can unite Essex, but one of the criticisms was not just to unite. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so the area that we're talking about is here, right? Let me take off the existing state house districts. And what you can do is move 43C up in order to get this area, so you could put all of Essex in the one district in 43C, and then 19 will go east into Middle River, right? And then 43B will go south into this area, Bowley's Quarters and that kind of, so you could rotate these around. What that doesn't do, though, if you heard, was it the senator or delegate who was making the argument, is that it doesn't unite Essex with Dundalk and Edgemere, because he was saying, look, they look over the water to each other. And what's happened with Dundalk and Edgemere is a product of making the decision to have the crossover district between Baltimore City and Baltimore County happen in the southeast as opposed to somewhere else. So unless we wanted to rethink that, right, which would alter, the plan considerably, my suggestion is that we move. There's about 4,000 people up here. You move this up into Essex. This will change both the Senate districts and the delegate districts. 19. This is 19 as a multi-member district, just to be clear, but it doesn't implicate it. Single member district, we would move it out this direction, and then 43B would come in more in this direction. The reason it was done the way it was to keep this district sort of closer to the boundaries of Baltimore City. This will have it go out just a little bit, but that's not significant. And if Essex, which is not a municipality, if it makes sense to unite it, as was the testimony, I think that can be easily done.
What's the demographic change if we make this revision?
It will move a larger minority population into 19 from 43B. It will make the crossover district between Baltimore County and Hartford a little whiter, but it'll have correlative, increase in 19. Neither one of these are majority African-American districts, but it'll increase the percentage in 19.
So now if you add part of Essex, the part that's closest to Rosedale to 43C,
Yeah.
then you increase the minorities in 19?
No, it's that not the increase in the minorities is from the move to Middle River. So if you're just interested,
okay.
right? So look here, right? This area, I believe this is the African-American map, right? You would you would push this out. So essentially 19 would lose a white population in here and go out, which, this looks like a kind of cohesive, that's another benefit is to move this out.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's clean. I mean, I actually live in Essex. I can't even see my street. I don't know where it is, but I grew up in Dundalk and now live in Essex. And so keeping Essex whole makes sense to me. And adding that part of Middle River to the other district. I mean, something's going to be split because of how we set the map up in the first place coming down from Harvard. So
yeah, Middle River's still going to be split. It'll just be a little bit farther in here, and that makes sense.
Okay.
Who else?
I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I agree with it.
Who else has a comment here on this proposed?
Judge, I agree with Cheryl, and especially since she's a resident. So I think her input in this particular instance is very valuable, but it just makes more sense than what we've been hearing from other people. We need to make an adjustment.
Right, because there was people wrote about it in addition to the individuals that shared today. So
okay, does anyone else have any comments on this?
Seems good to me too.
I'm sorry, did you ask me something there, Judge?
Yeah, I wanted to know whether William Thomas had any thoughts. William, you're on mute. Do you have any thoughts?
No thoughts in particular about this.
Okay. Anyone else? Kate, anything else?
Judge, just what I just said, that I agree with making that adjustment. It makes more sense. And as I said, Cheryl is our resident expert, literally and figuratively, for that area. So I concur with her judgment.
Okay. Kim?
I have to agree with Cheryl as well. Thank you.
Okay. Mary?
The only thing I'm wondering, the speaker also supported single member districts, and this is going to move part of that into a multi-member district. Is that right? It'll be
no. I just had the multi-member map on the screen. It's going to be a single member district here. I mean, I can go and put the single member district map on the. I think because I was just being prepared to talk about the multi-member district. But like, I believe, I want to make sure I got the right map up there, but let's this should be right in the Baltimore area, but let me just make sure I've got the single member district map that we've come up with. And so, yeah, so see, this is what it will do is that 19C will come out in that direction. 43C will go up. 43B will come down.
Okay, thank you. That won't change that.
Although now I'm looking at, there's something with that's buggy here with the deviations, because this might be an earlier version, but basically that's what would happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, do you have any impressions?
I think it's all been said. I agree with that change.
Okay, and I agree with it. Okay, so Professor Vasily?
I'll make that change.
All right, great. Okay. I think, are there any other separate issues before we begin to talk about the hybrid situation that we've been looking at for the last few sessions.
Could I raise? Oh, sorry. Go on. Whoever that was.
I know that. I don't know if we want to just look at it again. I know that several people in their testimony did bring up the issue of Dundalk and it being split. I mean, I initially did not see an issue there with it, but I know we did work on Essex. I didn't know how that impacted the Dundalk and Baltimore City split, but I did want to bring it up as a point of discussion since in the testimonies and comments on the plan came in and referenced that as well.
Well, this is that is a consequence of making this essentially this Senate district go in through the southeast. So, and you'll see that the district and the way we did the delegate districts, this be single member, right, is to go in and basically follow the water here and then have a nice kind of straight line there. And so, of course, this can be, you could unite Dundalk, but think about it this way, which is that, all right, if Dundalk, basically, if 20B goes and gets Dundalk, then everything has to shift this way. And then you've got to find some other way to come into the county from the north or elsewhere. And so it basically would change the whole map in that area. But that's, that's your call as to whether we want to open that up.
I guess that's a whole nother piece when we get to the issues regarding the west side of Baltimore County in terms of looking at communities of interest, because one of them was talking about the Jewish communities and being split across the districts. Was it 15, 16? I'm trying to see the numbers.
That's around Pikesville, yeah.
Around Pikesville. And those were some,
that
came up several times in testimony, and because that, that's something we really hadn't discussed. I know it came up last time we looked at it, but that is something that could potentially end up impacting what happens on the other side. So that's just something to think about when we look at that again more closely.
Well, so if you remember when we started doing the delegate maps or even the Senate maps, we had it going in from the Northwest. That was, and that would have united that community, I believe. And so it's because we then, respected this boundary and then only decided to go into Baltimore with one intrusion. Of course, you can get, look, depending on what you all decide about the number of intrusions across county lines, right? You can go in and out of Baltimore County. But this, there's a philosophy here, which is that you go in, that there's a Senate district that crosses from Dundalk into the harbor area, and that is the way to think about that community. Now, of course, you can make arguments like that for every border here, right? So the Baltimore Highlands and how that might go into southwestern Baltimore County, or like we're saying, northwestern Baltimore City and going into the county. So it really just depends. I mean, when we arrived at this, it was in response to the original map, which had the intrusion in the Northwest.
So Cheryl, you want to continue to reflect on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll leave it the way it is right now, Professor. But again, everything is open to a further consideration and discussion as to where the intrusion should be of the county.
Can I add?
Well,
yeah, I'm sorry.
if I can make a comment, that would completely change a lot of things, because Baltimore City has 4 complete Senate districts, and this was the partial 5th one. And there was a lot of discussion when we decided to join it with that southeastern section of Baltimore County. And a lot of the thinking was it was uniting that industrial area that's expanding so that it would unify more of the Port of Baltimore. So I'm just speaking in favor of, if we take that philosophy out, it really is going to change a lot, I think. I don't think that there's, well, professor will do magic, I know, but.
No, you're absolutely right. It changes everything. There's also potential, we can deal with the voting rights issues, but it changes every district inside Baltimore City, as well as probably every district that borders Baltimore City.
Yeah, well, I didn't hear Cheryl talk about any permanent change right now. She's just gonna think on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, she's gonna think on it. Yeah, that's all. We'll think on it. Yeah, but I agree that we've put a lot of effort and discussion about bulging right there toward Dundalk for that particular senatorial district. So I'm inclined to like that, but again, I want to make sure that Cheryl gets an opportunity to think about it, hear other comments that may come in, and go from there.
Judge,
thank you. I was just thinking about comments that did come in. That's all, and that's why I just brought it up so we could look at it and just say what we were thinking in terms of our rationale and make sure it was clear. So, thank you.
And these are the exact trade. I mean, these are the trade-offs, and so we started with the Northwestern Baltimore because there are several different communities that cross the Baltimore City boundary, right? And the question is, how many of those crossovers do you think are consistent with both the state constitution and the governor's order? And so since we're trying to minimize crossovers, it's just a trade-off as to which area you're going to go in from. Judge, in this spirit, could I point out one other small change that I want that might be useful?
Yes.
So I was looking at Prince George's County because we had done we had made some changes here that were, some of which were maybe Voting Rights Act required. You'll notice that this district, this is now what would be Senate District 35, is going all the way from basically the border with Montgomery County all the way down to Lake Arbor. And that's because of the shifts that happened here. And we can talk about why that happened. But what I would like to do, and the numbers work out, is at a minimum to put most of Lanham into this and basically to do a swap between 36 and 35 so that Lake Arbor in this area goes into 36 and then the Lanham area goes into 35 and maybe some of this area which doesn't have people in it. And so that would make this more compact and a little bit less stretchy in the number of communities. You'll see it. We're trying to respect each one of the municipalities that's in here, and that will continue to be the case. But it's just, I think this was in some ways a casualty of a lot of the changes that were happening here, and it makes sense to move it back.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but
I think that is a great idea.
As long as we're thinking about that, let me just ask the Anne Arundel folks if they want. There was another thing that occurred to me, but this involves moving a precinct, and that is Annapolis, just the little area of Annapolis that's down here. But it's just a compactness issue. I was looking at it. This is an enormous precinct right here that goes like this, and so while it is technically contiguous that you can walk from here up here, I was trying to contemplate whether it makes sense to essentially cut off the appendage here and have this go down, or we could just keep it as it is, which respects the precinct lines.
Is that a Annapolis precinct that you're talking about?
So let me just show you what the precinct is.
Because Annapolis has their own government.
So it goes right up into the edge. You can see this is, it's large. It's 2,200 people that we're talking about. And so I was, when we were starting out, I wasn't breaking up precincts. And so, I wouldn't put the entire precinct in here. I would probably just slice it off here. But I don't think this is necessary. It's just something that occurred to me as I was going through the map. And so, and maybe if you're from Annapolis, it makes a lot of sense to do it this way. But as we're putting finishing touches on these kinds of things, it was something that jumped out at me. I don't know if you know that area well.
I need to take a closer look on the street map one that the state put out. So if that's 30C,
yeah,
I'll take a look at it and get back to you.
Here's the street. I mean, basically, now again, there may be some reasons why they draw the precincts like this, but a lot of the time it has to do with the way the congressional districts are drawn or something like that. But the idea would be to just make the border at this Bay Ridge Road and take this and then compensate by going down from 30C. Now it might not work. It might not be worth it because you might end up splitting up this area here in a somewhat irrational way. But I would do it just to make sure that there's equal population there.
Okay, I'll take a look and give you some feedback.
And frankly, you could, instead of going down this way, you could also have this go up to take in this part, because you'll notice this single member delegate district is in a C shape around the that district. Okay. Anyway, I don't think this is no one's testified on this. It's not a critical thing, but it is something. It's one of these things. As you go through a map 100 times, you're going to find 100 different things like this.
Yeah, well, go ahead and make the adjustment. What was that, Senate District 35?
Yeah, 35 and 36.
Yeah. And I'll take a look at it. Yeah, but go ahead and make the proposed revision.
Okay, all right.
I'll look at it. Yeah.
It doesn't change the racial composition much at all. I mean, it's 1% here or there, but it's nothing that implicates any legal issue.
Okay.
All right. I think we can talk about. I can direct the discussion on multi-member districts, or you all can. There's been several different types of proposals on the table, and now we're kind of awash in maps. Are you able to see my screen? Or let me just say, actually, let me stop sharing for the moment, and then let me make sure you're seeing the right thing.
And this is the hybrid maps that you were working on?
We can talk about hybrid maps. We can talk about density maps. This right here is the Senate district density map. But the basic question, right, is which, if any, of these districts. Let me try to enlarge this here. And this is just, I'm doing it with we can do it on the maptitude, but which, if any, of these districts should be kept as a multi-member or moved to multi-member as opposed to single member. So the three families of proposals you have on the table are one that focuses on counties, one that focuses on Senate district population density, and one that is a hybrid. In general, the commonalities of them are that that you would have lots of multi-member districts in almost all of the Baltimore City districts, except the one that we were just discussing that crosses over into Dundalk would be multi-member districts. All of the districts that touch Baltimore City that are in Baltimore County would be multi-member districts. Almost all of the districts in Montgomery County would be multi-member under this, if you see them here, except the sort of more rural area at the top here, as well as some of these other districts which were made for community of interest reasons, dealing with both Latino and African-American populations, African-American population along the border here, Latino populations in Wheaton, all the way to the border. And then when it comes to Prince George's County, it depends on which philosophy you're going with. Again, for some community of interest reasons, dealing with the cohesive Latino communities in Northwestern Prince George's County, we have some single member districts, but then as you moved out, you can include Bowie and 36 as one of those multi-member districts, as well as some of these others. It depends on what threshold you're using for multi-member districts. And then in some of the maps, well, so here's Baltimore City and County, right? It depends, again, which ones in this version of the map. 17 and 15 are multi-member districts. All of Baltimore City has got multi-member districts. 19 is. In other versions, you group together all of 16 into districts, into a multi-member district. I'll say with respect to Howard County, there's only one that at least has been on the table from you all, and that is Columbia and its potential single-member districts being united into a multi-member district. All right. Now, if you drop the density to 1,500 from 2,000, which was then that implicates Frederick, the sort of city of Frederick and Frederick County, as well as I said, it changes some of the districts in Baltimore County as well. Perhaps what I should do is, I don't know what you want to, it's hard to, I tried to give you documents that show the changes that happen when you move from one principle to the next. I don't know where to begin if we're going to have a discussion about this. I can show you the hybrid map, the last one that we were talking about, and but I sort of await your direction as to how to think about this.
What's your preference?
Well, it really just sort of depends on what you, I mean, here's the way I see the conversation moving, which is that, are you going to consider multi-member districts or not? If you are going to have multi-member districts, what is the philosophy as to where multi-member districts are going to be? Does density get you where you want to go? Does counties get you where you want to go? Does a hybrid approach get you where you want to go? But those aren't, you know, I can keep showing you more and more maps, but fundamentally it depends on what your principle is here as to how you want to decide where, if any multi-member districts are going to be there and where they should be. And I can't really help you with that. That's really just up to you all.
Which ones did you make based on what we talked about last time?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Which maps, and based on what we requested the last time, you made a hybrid map, correct?
Yeah, right.
And
you want to see that one?
Yes.
Okay, here's the hybrid map, and I can do it on the on Maptitude if we want, but let me just I'll do it the same way because it's a little bit quicker right now. So the hybrid compromise, I said as specified by Chair Olson, but he obviously, just in truth in advertising here, obviously Chair Olson's in favor of single member districts, but just as specified to me. So all districts except for the crossing into Dundalk will be multi-member districts in Baltimore City. The two West County districts in Baltimore County plus the Parkville Overlay District Northeast of the city would be counted. Prince George's County, except the districts I was talking about before, which are in the Northwest that have other special considerations. Montgomery County, except districts 6, 7, 13, and then the Howard County Columbia District. That's the compromise that's being proposed. And so you can see how it shakes down. Let me zoom. Well, you can see, I think here, where so here's the single member district in Montgomery County, 6A, B, and C, as well as the District 7 and District 13 are broken up into single member districts. Everything else, right, the Gaithersburg, Germantown, Rockville districts are multi-member. Then in Prince George's County, right, it's basically all of them are multi-member districts, including the one that dips into Charles County would be multi-member, right, except the ones in the Northwest where we're describing the kind of community of interest concerns, which would be single member district, and the ones that cross over into Anne Arundel would each be single member districts, right? 32 A, B, and C. Then in Baltimore City and County, let me shrink this a little bit. You'll notice So 16 is kept as single member districts, but 15 and 17 are multi-member under this map, as is 19 in Baltimore County, but the Baltimore City districts are all multi-member. Okay. And then Howard, the district I was mentioning before, which is Columbia and its western suburbs, would be in that plan. Oh, and then I just showed you all what a multi-member district in Charles County would be, but that was because I spoke to Judge Williams and just wanted to see what it looked like. And so that would be the multi-member district in Charles County. That is not part of the hybrid compromise as I understand it, but just so you can see what it would look like, that is the multi-member district that's there.
I'm sorry, can you go back up to Baltimore County again? I saw 16 was single, 15 was multi-member, 17 was multi-member, and what was the other?
It's just, no, in Baltimore County, it's just 15, 17, and 19.
15, 17, and 19.
Right. Now, I mean, here I'm just following the directions. Of course, you can, if you want, if you think 16 should be a multi-member district, that's another option, of course, but. Right.
Nate, maybe at some point we should talk about the numerical elements of the formula that generates this, because I don't think we've entirely specified why it's a hybrid, what it draws on, and what thresholds it uses.
Be my guest. Yeah, I think you take that over.
Okay, I will step in and try to formulate that. Those who watched our last session remembered that we discussed the one option of doing it by district density, which didn't produce results that entirely satisfied all of us. The other possibility of doing it by the density of a county and then flipping that whole county over to multi-member, which again had some pluses and some minuses to members. This would be a hybrid in which all of the districts with more than 2,000 population per square mile would be triple member, but also counties that exceed 2,000 persons a square mile would also get a presumption of being triple member unless they fell into one of the exclusions, such as crossover, which in any case, the county crossover districts are to be kept single member, but with a couple of special cases that are worth knowing about. Further exclusion of any district with a density below 500 persons per square mile. Now that's not quite rural, but that's only 1/4 of the density of the main threshold, and it only affects one district, which is the northernmost one in Montgomery County, the so-called Ag Reserve District. That would be exempted from triple member status, and the district that dips down from Prince George's to Charles could remain 3-member, even though it crosses a county line, because the population in Charles side is so small that it can't make up the core of a single district, no matter what you do to it. So, and then the further rule, everything has to be 1 or 3, no 2-member districts. But those are the rules that generated a 2,000 threshold. Applies both for individual districts and for counties taking all their districts with them, except with the above rules.
Any further reaction to that?
Well, I support the density level being at least 2,000 per square mile. I think dropping below that is just, I don't know, doesn't seem like the same density level that we're talking about. The one issue that I think we need to answer and understand from Professor Persilli is if we're creating, if we've got a part of a county, such as Montgomery County or PG County, that our formula says should be a 3-member district. Now, on the other hand, for minority, opportunity type districts, you would want to prefer a single member district is what you're going to propose. So those two things are in kind of opposition of one another, and I think would demand a bit more explanation if we're saying this is being driven by the numbers, because that decision clearly is not being driven by the numbers. So another, well, and I was just going to also say that if we're looking for opportunity type districts, because Maryland is diverse, getting more so, and particularly the urban areas between Baltimore and Washington, including Howard and other county, and Howard and Montgomery, PG County are growing so fast. We only do this once every 10 years. Are we in fact, by eliminating single member districts in all but a very few specific locations based on the snapshot of the census in 2020, are we in fact maybe denying a better future outcome over the years if we had more, knowing that the growth is happening, knowing that the growth is primarily minority, that we are maybe going to be limiting by only picking one or two of those districts to say, well, we'll make these the big district that we break up into single members, but the rest of them we're not going to break up. Just a little bit of something I was thinking about, because you only do this 10 years. This is like our moonshot to make a difference for the next 10 years. So once again, I'm in favor of the single member solution and using it as broadly as possible for opportunities for minorities.
I'd like to comment about the 2,000. I agree that I would not go below that for determining the density number. I do think we're at a point where we have to look at a hybrid. And the reason for that is I think, I'm of course want to be mindful of what the executive order is. I'm also mindful that we have to reach some conclusions about what we are going to present, and that we've been hearing from people across the state, those in favor of multi-member and single member districts. And it's not a unified opinion across the state. So I think in order for us to proceed and put something out there again, to have public comment, my opinion is we go with the hybrid as described by Walter. And of course, this is what we asked for based on what Cheryl had suggested last time, and proceed with that and get public input. And then ultimately we have to make a final decision. But at this point, I think it might be the best thing in order for us to proceed. Other than that, we're going to just keep going back and forth about the things that we think are best about single versus multi-member. And I'm also mindful that across the nation, more and more states are going with single member. We see that, but I don't think Maryland is at that point yet. So that's why I suggest that we look at a hybrid and have the public continue to comment on that.
Okay, well, I'll concur, Kate, with what you said. I'll suggest we move from there. I'm hoping to get more comments and more reaction to these maps before we reach a final decision. I've been doing my best to get the public and officials that I run into to please go online and look at our maps and comment. And I haven't gotten enough. I've been in contact with Gloria Blackwell, Aparicio, and she keeps me abreast of what the thinking is by the Latino community. And while I heard a number of people tell me that they support things the way they were, again, as as Mary said, we've got to certainly provide opportunities for a growing and significant minority of community. And in Prince George's County, that certainly would be districts 33 and 34, which seem to be an increasing minority district, which has to call for, it's not required under the Voters' Right Act, but it certainly calls for a suggestion for single member districts there. And then I'd also conclude by saying that, and I mentioned before that I've had some concerns about Charles County because of the success that they've had under the multi-member, but I'm looking for more comments. We've gotten a number of comments from people who want a single. Clearly, the Charles County does not fall within the formula. We know that. But again, I'm just waiting for comments because as Professor Priscilla mentioned to me, in the 3-member districts single member districts proposed for Charles County, they all are heavily minority. Is that right, Professor?
That's right. They're all majority African American, and then when you even add in, I mean, the white population is under 40% in all of them.
Yeah. So again, my argument doesn't hold water, from that standpoint. So I'm being realistic and being fair. But I'll wait and listen to see if there are any comments. But as I said, I've been urging elected officials all over the state, please let us know your thoughts. You like it, you don't like it, before we reach a final decision. So that's my spiel.
Judge Williams, if I could just add something to piggyback onto something that you just said from kind of a housekeeping standpoint for the commission. One of the issues that you might be facing right now is that we have Senate maps that are posted as the final proposed draft maps. We have congressional maps that are posted, even though we've talked last week and we need to talk a little tonight about getting those renumbered, but they're posted. We don't have straightforward legislative maps posted for people really to comment on. We've got kind of a hodgepodge. So I don't know if the public really truly understand where kind of you are right now with regard to the legislative maps. And I think that this entire conversation kind of epitomizes what we're talking about, which is we don't really have kind of that draft map that we're really working from right now that we have posted on the website. And I just wanted to put that out for you all to consider, that's kind of the one thing that still hasn't been posted.
And Kristen, that's why I'm suggesting that we post what we were just looking at in terms of the hybrid, so that with the remaining hearings that we have, people can comment on that. We need to get something out there. We just can't, as I said before, we can't keep going back and forth with this. And we've heard varying opinions about the benefits of single member versus multi-member. But what I'm suggesting is we take the hybrid as Walter described, as proposed by Cheryl, and put that out there and have people comment on that and using the 2,000 limit that we have. Other than that, they don't have anything else to respond to. We have to put something out there. We're running out of time.
I support that, but I haven't seen a map. I've seen the lists, but is there a, end east to west whole map that has this drawn? Okay. So.
Yeah, I know this is all, I mean, you just tell me I have now like 150 maps that have been drawn. Exactly. And so that's part of the challenge here is to figure out which one. So there was a single member district delegate map that was posted, right, Kristen?
Yeah, it would have been posted kind of under that meeting in which we discussed that. But because then there was so much debate by the commission on our website, you may have noticed there's kind of an area kind of that like final draft proposal. And that's where okay, these are the maps that the commission has kind of said, okay, we're going to move forward and discuss these maps. Right now, we just have all of the maps that you're sending are part of that, great number of maps that, well over 100 different maps. So there isn't necessarily a real go-to map that people are saying, okay, this is what they're talking about now.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we probably need to have that tonight, guys, because what you're talking about and what you want is for the public to comment on maps, but they don't know what maps to comment on because we keep flipping back and forth between all of these maps that the professor has provided us. And we kind of need to get to the next step so that, so that he can say, this is what we're looking at.
Is there any opposition to Kate's suggestion that we adopt, at least at this time, the hybrid map and post that and ask for comments? Any opposition to that? Anyone? All right. So let's get a motion. Kate, do you make a motion?
Before you make the motion, can I just I make one addendum? Is that there are several fixes that have been articulated today also, and so I want to put those into the hybrid map. And then that is a sense, none of them implicate any of these, multi-member district issues, but I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And that where we are now with the delegate map does change the Senate districts. And so what I will do is I will do a hybrid map for the delegate districts, and then the Senate map that would emerge from them. And those will be the two maps that you will have for posting tomorrow.
All right, and Kate?
I would say that we have I propose a motion to accept what has just been proposed by Professor Priscilli. So I don't have to repeat what everybody just heard, but with that, we'll have some, we've come to some consensus and earlier in our discussion this evening. We also will be looking at the hybrid and also making some adjustments to the Senate maps based on those earlier discussions.
All right, is there a second? All right, Cheryl seconds it. All right, any further discussion on this? Everybody clear? All right.
We just need, how many, I think we have everybody, so we have at least 7.
All right.
We're missing Jay, but I just need to kind of make sure so that when I post them as final draft proposed maps, again, it doesn't mean for those of the members of the public that are watching, that does not mean these are the final maps. These are the maps that are up for discussion by the commission to tweak, modify, amend based on the conversations that they're having with members of the public among each other, moving forward through the month of October with the feedback of the public. Just want to make sure that that's certain. Dr. Hetherington has just made that motion. These are the maps that I will post under that final draft proposed map section so that people can pull them up, look at them and discuss them and bring commentary to your next meetings and to written commentary as well.
Is there any further discussion on the motion and the second? All right, hearing no need for further discussion, all in favor, if you just raise your hand so we can see you and count the votes. Looks like it's unanimous. That's right, we've got 8 votes. All right.
Yes.
So post them tomorrow.
Yep.
And Kristen, can they be on that other map background, the one the planning office did that allows you to really zoom in and see the streets?
Yes. Professor Priscilli, if you could just resend the email that has the GIS files as well as the PDF of this, just so I know I'm putting up the right ones. And of course, you have to make those modifications as discussed tonight. So when those are complete, if you could send that all to me in one email so that I make sure I get the right items posted on the website for the public and for the commission.
Yeah, these will be totally new files that I'm sending you. These will be different than any ones you've had thus far because I'll be changing the districts. So, and these will be, gigantic files. So I'll have to put them on a Dropbox and you can and download them.
All right, so the remaining issue is again the renumbering, and We've heard discussion that people were confused about the congressional numbers, the senatorial numbers, the House of Delegate numbers. So what's your pleasure with reference to going back to the original names, numbers, excuse me?
Judge, I
numbers.
think we heard last time we had last meeting that that was preferred, and I thought we had consensus that we agreed. I don't know if we voted on it or not, but I think trying to get the numbering back to as close as it was previously was the goal, to make it easier for the public to understand. I don't think we had anyone say that they weren't interested in doing that. So I don't know if you want to take a vote on that as well.
Just to remind, there is language in the governor's order requiring that the legislative maps have numbering from the northwest to the southeast. There is no such number on the congressional maps, which is another good reason to go ahead. As Kate said, as Delegate Shalega said, really everyone seems to agree that it's a source of confusion that we could remove to do a traditional numbering of the congressional districts.
Bring up that map and just since it's only 8 of them, just talk through exactly what we're doing.
Yes. Let me make sure that so the map I'm going to put up has some deviations on it, but just ignore that for now, for numbering purposes. But this is similar to what we've been talking about. So just, I guess, tell me, are you able to see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we say 8 becomes 1. Is that, for instance?
Yeah, just let's do it. Let's do it just so that I don't exercise any discretion here, because sometimes, all right, 8 becomes 1. 7 should become what?
And what about the Montgomery County? Weren't they 6? I'm not sure.
Wasn't Montgomery
6
County
goes,
traditionally 8 and Western Maryland was 6?
Well, yeah, let me show you. I'll show
6
you the
goes up to
existing-
Western Maryland.
Well, I'm showing you the existing districts,
Okay.
right? Where the numbers are, but a lot of, things get wonky in Baltimore because so many districts ended up going in. So should we say that that district, what we have as District 1 will be District 6, the Western Maryland area?
I think that's the historic number for it, yeah.
Okay, and then you see, but then we had all this stuff that was in there. So
was 7 2? I'm not sure if 7 was 2. I think
7 was 2. I think Cheryl's right.
I think 7 was 2.
Well, again,
Yes.
it depends where where you go. You see, these are the existing districts, and so you had anyway. All right, so we'll take number 2 will be 7 now.
So 7 was Baltimore City.
Yeah, seven had a slice of Baltimore City, but it was a majority Howard County and Baltimore County district, because that was Cummins' old district.
So that should remain 7, that area, if we're trying to stick with the numbers.
No, wasn't.
And Baltimore County was what, 2?
Yeah, Baltimore County was 2, I think. So
how about leave
2 goes along
green
the
number 3? Leave the 3 where it is, covering the green.
Clearly 3 should be remaining where it should. And 4 and 5 would be Prince George's. So I know that. And I think
5 should be down here. This is where you want it.
Yeah, you got that right. And you got 4 right. And you got 4 right.
Yeah, okay. And so then the only question is 7 and 2 so 7. So this pink district should be 2. Is that right? Are we agreed on that?
I think it's 7 should be 2 and 6 should be 7.
Yes.
And 5 stays as it is. So 7 should be 2, 6 should be 7, 5 stays as it is, 3 stays as it is.
2 should be 8.
Where's 8? Where's 8?
Number 2.
It's Montgomery County. 2 should be 8.
Yeah, 2 should be 8. 2 should be 8.
Okay, good.
And 4 is 4?
Yeah,
4 is
4 is
4.
Prince George's, 5 is Prince George's and Southern Borough.
Right.
Three,
Four is
three,
four.
3, 4, and 5 are going to stay the same. The other ones are going to change.
Great, that was easy. That was fun.
I mean, there's a long story I can tell some of you at some point about how to think about numbering, but this is usually when I'm dealing with courts where they maximally want to disrupt things. You all are not in that business, so I think this makes sense.
Yeah, there's no interest in renumbering the senatorial districts.
Well, my suggestion on the numbering is to do exactly what we just did, which is that when we really are sure about the plan, let's go in and change the numbers at the end. Because as districts move, then you start losing some sequencing. It's also important, I think, that we get the delegate map done before we start renumbering the Senate districts, because you got to make sure that
No problem. Great. All right.
So if we're going to be moving the congressional districts around just a little bit and playing with them and are completely uncertain, do you guys want to just email out the new version so that we actually are seeing it, and kind of have you guys kind of vote via email tomorrow or the next day, and we'll then get it posted accordingly? Or
the congressional map or the other one?
The congressional map, yes.
Yeah, I will send all 3 maps tomorrow. It's going to be hard to get all 3 done, but I will certainly get them done by 24 hours from now.
Okay.
But I'll get the legislative maps done sometime, before 3 p.m. tomorrow, but hopefully much earlier than that. And then the congressional map I'll send along as well.
Yeah, because I think Baltimore City is 7. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Baltimore City.
Yeah. That's what we're going to
so
change.
that should remain 7. So if we're just looking at them, it's kind of hard to compare this to the old map. So
yeah, I mean, remember, this is what the old districts look like, so
yeah, Baltimore County was 2, and Montgomery
right. So
County,
we can call it 2. You got parts of Baltimore County that are 2, right? And then you have parts that were in coming in from the north. So
right.
We're in a very different world right now.
So to sum it up, if I'm looking at this correctly, Western Maryland is 6, Eastern Shore is 1, Southern Maryland is 5,
yeah,
Baltimore City is 7, Baltimore County is 2, Prince George's County is 4, Montgomery County is 8, and Anne Arundel Howard is 3.
Right.
Got it.
Is that right? Okay.
We got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Are there any other issues this evening we need to talk about? All right. Not next meeting is Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and we'll notify as many people as possible with the social media about this hearing. We only have a couple more public sessions?
2 more after this.
2 more, and then we need to start putting all this together and coming up with the proposals. Okay. All right.
One last thing, if Commissioner Clausen, if there's a way for you to get me an answer on that little Annapolis fix tonight, or otherwise I'll just keep it the way it is.
Just leave it the way it is.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Great seeing everyone, and we'll wait for these maps, and they'll be posted for the public to comment on.
Yes, and as we said, it's looking. We'll try to have some up tomorrow, but it's probably more likely that they'll be posted by Friday morning, or Friday at some point on Friday.
All right, Mr. Secretary, I always give you the last word if you have any comments.
I appreciate your hard work. It's been very challenging, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there. You have been doing a job in the public's eye that has never been done before, and I really appreciate everyone's hard work on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your support. All right, great.
You got it.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
You too, Cheryl.